morning everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning for today's webinar, The Power of the 3 Rs. It's in partnership with Barnsley Rotherham Chamber and our colleagues at Doncaster Chamber. And we've got Laura and Jade on the call from Doncaster Chamber. We'll hear from fellow chamber members Steve and Rob, who are on the call, as you can see. They are directors of Plan.Grow.Do. Steve and Rob have, as many of you know, have been working with around over 100 businesses in the Sheffield City region, supporting them with their sales strategy, their processes and their results. And they've been receiving excellent feedback that I'm sure a lot of us have seen on social media and through other platforms for their style of training and their methods of training, which has been excellent. Just a little bit about the speakers. Steve's worked in sales for many years. His inspirational selling techniques are the cornerstone of the large corporate that he used to be with, Shell International. And he rose through the ranks there to become responsible for the success of the company's sales teams right across, not just nationally, but internationally also. And Rob's an award-winning marketing professional with over 13 years of professional marketing experience. He's seen the rise of the digital marketing and adaptive businesses to help them through that transition rather than fear the transition in many ways. So with that in mind, we're sure that you're in more than capable hands on this specific topic. So before I pass over to Steve and Rob, I've just said it, this webinar is being recorded and we're going to be sending it out to our chamber networks afterwards. You'll all be on mute except for our speakers. However, we do want this to be interactive. I know Rob and Steve have got a few ideas up their sleeves in terms of making it interactive. So if you've got any questions, please pop them in the conversation chat box or raise your digital hand, and we'll pick them up as we go, or we'll come back to them at the end. So I'll mute myself now, and I'll pass over to Steve and Rob. We'll get us started. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to see so many Shane Youngs in the region. What a common name. It's like that Dave Gorman series many years ago. Wonderful, Shane. It's incredible to see you all. Here. Steve, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Let's do that, shall we? Let's have a little introduction to what this is about. It's really about, in this kind of environment we're in, finding new customers is harder than it ever was. So that's one angle. The other angle is to look at your existing customers and actually say, if I've got these loyal customers that have benefited from my service, my product before, how can I use this as my most prized asset to help generate sales opportunity and enhance the loyalty that already exists? So this webinar focuses on what we call the 3 Rs. And the 3 Rs are reviews, referrals, and repeats. And as a business owner, a leader of a sales team, a salesperson, there we go, we've said it. One of the things that you should always aim for in every conversation with a customer is progressing one of these 3 things. Because they're often the things that we neglect. And what we'll show you through this webinar is why they are probably amongst the most valuable pieces of content, feedback, and emotional direction that you can use to help your buyer and other buyers buy more from you.
Absolutely. So Shane, thank you for your introduction. We won't bore you too much with details of who we are, but yeah, basically the Plan.Grow.Do project is a combination of myself, Rob Taylor, and Steve Knapp here, who it's over a year ago, isn't it? About 18 months almost now. We're 2 independent companies. OW14 Marketing was my brand. Steve was the sales mindset coach, and we shared an office. But we found out that by eavesdropping ultimately on each other's conversations, we were pretty much having the same conversation with different people, but from a marketing lens or a sales lens. And they're very much the same thing. So whether you think you work in sales or marketing, ultimately, if you're in that business owner, sales team, marketing role, you're responsible for business development, and you're responsible in a modern setting for the sales results and outcomes of your business. So we try and overcome that sales or marketing angle by suggesting that they've never been more aligned, two sides of the same coin, I think you often say, don't you?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a wealth of experience, I guess, from this side. As Shane alluded to, I come from a pre-social media side of things, and Steve, you're more of a
pre-digital,
the pre-internet, more traditional side of our partnership. So yeah, we're glad to be here, and hopefully what we'll share with you this morning will help you along your way in engaging with your existing customers. But Steve, what we're going to cover today?
Yeah. So let's just frame out what we're going to cover so you know you're in the right room. So I've already said you should leave every sales call, customer interaction with either a review, a referral, or a repeat. And through this webinar, we'll share with you how you can ensure you do not leave sales opportunities on the table, how you can use your network to create you sales opportunities, and how you could maximize the full value of your customer loyalty and relationships.
Yeah, so we want it to be engaging. We're hopefully going to build in some time for Q&A towards the end. So if there are questions that come in or thoughts that come in throughout the session, please drop them in the chat. Shane or Jade or one of us will pick that up towards the end, and we'll have some time for some Q&A. So this is where we're at with our customer journey. Most of us always just think about new. How can I get new customers? Which is the left side of the diagram you can see on your screen. A lot of what we talk about in the Plan.Grow.Do trainings is the customer journey from unaware, aware, consideration, and decision. But let's assume we take a new customer through this, and that's it. We never engage with them again because we just pursue new opportunities. And think about yourselves as we talk and share about these ideas, about how you feel when you shop with someone, a brand or a business, and you never hear from them again until it's just to say, you're going to buy something from me again. It becomes generic. It becomes catalog pushing, list selling, and there's just no personalization. So hopefully, as we walk through the 3 Rs, you can start to apply the ideas to your own business and start to set action points for yourself moving forward. So please do take the notes as we talk and share our experiences. So the first challenge of this for the 3 Rs is to take a bit of responsibility and ownership about your actions and activities. And first, think about how many customers you're sitting on. How many existing customers do you have as a business in your database? When did you last actively and systematically speak to them? Or are you always focusing on the new? So set yourself a challenge here. For every one of my customers, I will expect from this day forward to get a review, a referral, or a repeat purchase from them. Because if all we do is funnel new customers down and forget them, it then becomes a reactive process. I'm quiet. I'm going to go and email all my customers and badger them to buy something new. If it's timely and systemized, and you've challenged yourself to get one of those 3 things from every customer, you're going to start building reputation, building better leads, building better opportunities. Because as we'll explore, the power of feedback and reviews for further new customers is invaluable for your business. So let's start with reviews and feedback. I'm going to give you an analogy of when I first started in employment, going back almost 2 decades. I started working in the restaurant industry, and I was running food to tables in a chain restaurant. I always remember how powerful this line was, because I'm still talking about it nearly 2 decades later. When my manager at the time, when I was new into the work, said, Within 5 minutes of you putting food down on that customer's table, make sure you go and ask them the one simple question. And I was like, okay, what's the question? Go and ask them, is everything okay with your meal? That's it. And I thought nothing of it, and it became habit and ingrained into what I did day after day. Now, fast forward almost 2 decades, and it still sticks, because the last time we were actually able to go out for a meal, me and the missus were out. I went to an Italian just out over the road. She has pasta, I have whatever I have, but her pasta's not the best. It's a little under. It's a little al dente, as they call it. Now, despite our pasta eating habit, I say, is everything okay? It's a bit under. Okay, don't worry. They'll be over soon to check. And we waited, and no one came to check. And we finished and we left. Didn't make a fuss, but we just ate and left. I said to her, did you enjoy that? It was all right. Would you leave them a review? I probably wouldn't bother. Would you tell your friends about it next time? No, probably not. Would you go back? Nah, we'll find somewhere new. Let's rewind just an hour in that evening, and the same scenario happens, but the waiting staff come over. Is everything okay with your meal? Well, actually, no, I'm glad you've asked. This is a little under. Could you make it better? By giving the restaurant the opportunity to make better something that's not right, made us leave with the same scenario saying, did you enjoy that? Yeah, it was great. Would you leave a review? Yeah, for sure. Would you tell your friends about it? Probably. And will you go back? Yeah, I'd go back. But as business owners, we never seem to engage customers in this way. We just assume that our product or our service is how it is, and it's right every time. And we don't ask for feedback. We don't ask our customers, is everything okay with your meal? So what's that question for you? Because feedback is so important in our business. It brings customers into better relationships, which are vital in a modern setting. It guides future growth and innovation. If your customers give you constant and consistent feedback about something you're not doing, what a great opportunity to plug that gap. And without listening, we could just be running off over in this direction when our customers are just standing here wanting a bit of attention. So I'm going to give you some polls that you'll see coming up on screen. I want you to think about your experiences with reviews. You'll see 3 questions. I don't want you to think too much about how they connect. I just want you to answer impulsively the questions that you see on screen. So you should see on screen now the poll. There are 3 questions. Question 1, how do you feel when asked to leave a review as a consumer receiving that request? Question 2, when did you last receive a review? And question 3, what stops you asking for it? If you could answer all 3 questions and hit submit, we'll see the results coming in, and we'll give you a minute just to do that.
Okay, they're coming in. We still think we need more of you to be.
Yeah, getting there.
I know she's a little more tricky to answer 3 in a row, but let's.
Yeah, I think we're all there because one of them's you and one of them's Jade. So excellent. So you'll see on screen the results of our straw polls. So let's take these one at a time. Question 1, how do you feel when asked to leave a review? Excellent. It's split between delighted and happy to respond, to half of us also feel a little hesitant to leave comments in a public forum. Cool. Not one of us today feels insulted that you've been asked, which is great. That's not too far from the norm of what we get when we run these polls in our training sessions. When did you last receive the review? Bear in mind, half of us are delighted and happy to respond. Almost a quarter of us can't remember when we last received a review. Over 10% say it's ages ago. So we're almost at half of us either can't remember or it was ages ago. So we're not harnessing the power of what the reviews are saying. Because if we're being asked and we feel delighted to, but 40% of us can't remember when we last got the review, there's a gap starting to emerge. Let's flip that for those that have got reviews and you're sitting there thinking, yep, nailed this, I've got them this week. And 40% have got some this year, which is fantastic. Good. What I'd ask you guys who are getting regular reviews, how are you using them? Is it just a case of, I've got reviews and that's it? What is it sharing and showcasing about you and your business? And we'll show you some examples about how we use it in our activities moving forwards. But I think the disparity is clear. I'm happy to be asked, but I'm not asking. Why are you not asking? Let's try and uncover some about this. I can't ask that. Some of us feel awkward, okay? Too much hassle for me and or the customer. Well, I think if the majority of us feel happy to respond, it's not too much hassle if we're getting asked. So don't assume it's too much hassle for the customer. If it's too much hassle for you, hopefully what we'll share with you in terms of statistics moving forward will change some of that. They might leave a poor review. Okay, they might. But let's not rule out, hopefully, what would be the minority of a one bad review from the pool of opportunity that the majority of your customer base could give you in terms of positive feedbacks and reviews. And time, a common one. We all get busy. We all get busy. But if this is so important, as we'll uncover in the next slide, we must find that time. This is about systemizing. It's about being consistent and making sure that every customer gets the same experience, whether you're busy or not. Because if you hit a busy time doing your doing, but you're ignoring your customers, when the going goes slower and you then go back to the well and ask your existing customers, they're just going to be distanced because you've not spoke to them in that time. Steve, what's coming out of this for you here?
Well, I mean, I think it feeds a little bit into the stats maybe when we go there, but there's something that really jumps out at me because I'm more the sales side of the duo, and I've often sat back and said, well, this is more of a marketing activity, and to be fair, at a moment in time that would have been very true, but in a modern environment, one of the keys for a modern seller is to actually help your buyer buy. And if your buyer buys based on the evidence that you provide, surely the job of a seller is to collate that evidence. There's a saying that I use, and one that I probably, is a bit of a mantra out there, but don't sell how you like to buy, but sell how your buyer likes to buy. And often your behavior and preferences dominate and stop, which is where I think, if I'm being a little bit, I'd be cheeky, I know you all now, time and hassle are probably quite internal motivations. You're not thinking in the eyes of your buyer, because that time you invest and making it hassle-free actually help your sales activities and sales results.
Yeah, and I think just as we move into the next section to hammer home the point of this, if you are feeling a little hesitant, as you can see on screen, to leave comments in a public forum, ask yourself, okay, but how am I currently asking for private feedback from my customer base? Not everything has to go on Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and so forth. But how are you collecting, garnering, and using private feedback through surveys and opinion polls through your own business. So let's park the poll for a second, and let's just reference back to where Steve said about selling how your buyer likes to buy. Think about your own buying behaviors. Our restrictive movements, our increase in online research and information. If you were to start your journeys to find your own services, what would you do? Where would you go? There's some statistics here that suggest that 90% of buyers reading online reviews claim that positive reviews influence their buying decisions. 86% say buying decisions were influenced by negative online reviews. And that's a risk that we've got to curb, but don't let it dampen the opportunity of the 90% of your customers are positively influenced by reading your good reviews. If you're not collecting reviews, you're missing out. Where do they need to go? Wherever your customer expects to find them. It's understood that 57% of a final buying decision is made before you even have a face-to-face. So think about what your customer's doing before that. They're going to go and look at your website. They're going to look at other customers like them in terms of case studies, testimonials. They're going to go and look at your online reputation through Google, Trustpilot, Which, Checkertrade, whichever platform is right for you. The fact is, you can't neglect the power of this, because if we're time poor, these reviews and case studies and reviews and reputation are evergreen. It sits there forever. And just as a brief example before we move on, I do a lot of work with trades businesses. They're busy. They're always busy. And one lad we did some work with, he never asked for reviews. And he had a database of about 600 customers. He'd never communicated with them. So we challenged him to go get some reviews because his website wasn't getting traffic. He thought about the time to ask for the review, 7:30 at night. He texted them all, SMS message, good old fashioned SMS, with a prompt to go and leave him a review. Overnight, he got 68 5-star reviews on Google. He's now ranking top on Maps, top in Google, and it's generating him brand new leads every single week, just because he dedicated some time to engage his existing customers. So if you're doubting the importance here, please try and understand the stats on the screen and think about that internal questioning. Is it your own barriers that's stopping you asking for it? Here's how we use it. This is how feedback fits into our meaningful relationships and product innovation, rather than us saying, and this might go for you as well, how experienced you are in your field or how great you are in your field. We get feedback from every attendee that attends our training. Common themes that appear are confidence, process, structure. So guess what? If that's a common thread from our customer feedback, that's important to our customers. So we're going to put that front and center. You'll see it on my LinkedIn. I think Steve's LinkedIn. That's the homepage snap and a picture of the office behind us, which calls out these emotional drivers that our customers are saying about us. And how do we know it? Because we ask. We ask every single one of them to give us feedback.
I think I'm going to have to edit these photos. I'm gurning. I
Perhaps I chose that one on purpose. So Steve, perhaps some points to consider about reviews. If you don't.
Yeah, so reviews. Let's just before we move to the next. Yeah, how can you ask your customers and prospects for reviews and feedback? Think about how you make that, sort of really part of your sales process. Systemize it. Where does it come in? Is it just at the end? Is it every year? Or is it as people are going through their buying journey with you? And what opportunities for new business can your reputation provide you when you consider how important reviews are in your buyer's buying journey and how important they are in ultimately their buying decision?
Yeah, good stuff. Your reviews are leaving clues. So go and find them and see what your customers are starting to say about you. Because the second of the three R's, Steve, I think you're going to introduce us to referrals?
Yeah, so a referral is a funny thing, because sometimes we kind of say within this space, well, I can't ask my existing customers for a referral because we're all competitors. Okay, we get that, but maybe we'll come on to that in a bit. But there's an undeniable fact that referral leads can convert 30% better than other leads. So if you are looking as a business for leads that are more likely to convert, referrals is the place to go. One of the most important things about referrals, a bit like reviews, is that they work when it's part of your sales process or your strategy. People often say that I'm okay, I've got a good word of mouth. I go networking, people know who I am, and they'll refer me. Well, we don't think word of mouth is actually a strategy. Word of mouth is, without doubt, great validation of what you do by others. But what happens if word of mouth actually dries up? Think about the pandemic. Think about the pandemic. Think about what's happened. All of our in-room opportunities have become digital. So the deliberate nature to have a strategy that connects to your existing customers is really important. As an example, the chap on the screen here, some of you might know him. You've not picked the best picture of him either.
It was more the subtitle I was interested in.
Right, yeah. So the chap on the screen, he attended our online live training. And we asked him in one of the sessions, we put the challenge out to him to go and ask the customers for reviews. And his feedback was, I can't do that. I'm just lucky that they've bought from me. I dare ask them if they know anybody else. Well, his feedback was, I gave it a go. And just by engaging with his existing customers and asking, do you know anybody else like you who might benefit from what I do? He found 3 leads, as quick as that. And with that higher percentage of conversion, these are the sorts of things that I would be going for. So here's some ideas about how you can start. Think about referrals, because on its own, as I said, word of mouth is not a strategy. You've got to think about what the referral is driving. And some of the places that you can start asking people for referrals, if you can answer the question, what problem did you solve? Was it something around service, convenience? Maybe you solved some logistical headache for them. I already mentioned a bit about, well, can't ask for that because we're all competitors. Maybe you've got to think more broadly out of your supply chain. How can people in the supply chain benefit from your service? And then the what's in it for them. Some of the things that motivate referrals are your position as the connector. Your reputation is built by being the person that is seen as the introducer. But let's not hide the fact that there is an element of what's in it for me. And there is an incentive piece that's really important. I mean, it's become more and more common in sales and marketing behaviors now to motivate people to find leads for you. You're actually paying a finder's fee, a referral fee. I mean, Rob often uses the story about food vouchers.
Yeah, but I do reference
food quite a lot. But indeed, those incentives are relevant and meaningful. So I think what you've got to find out within a referral strategy is these 3 things. What problem did you solve? Who else in your supply chain might benefit from what it is that you do? And how do you motivate and make that motivation personal and relevant to drive that referral opportunity?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a great challenge to you guys. So please do make a note of the structure on the slides here, because We've got to get out of that word of mouth, sitting back and absorbing the responsibility of word of mouth. I don't know about you, but when you're in a digital space like this, where the physical collisions aren't happening anymore, your immediate thought isn't to simply just think about your business. You're trying to protect your own, deal with homeschooling and so forth. So your word of mouth might be shrinking, but use it as an opportunity to build a referral strategy that you can control and measure from your existing customer base.
Because we've applied a referral strategy. Shane mentioned 100 plus businesses that we've helped in the Sheffield City region. I mean, we sort of nudged each other and said, well, it's a few more hundred than that, because actually what's happened in our referral strategy is it's actually led to 95% of people that attend our online live training, Plan.Grow.Do, would refer us. And actually, through us incentivizing them, they've done exactly that. They've done that through social sharing of our posts. They've done that through tagging us in when they've held their workbooks up, or we're going on training today. We've actually incentivized our learners as well to financially gain from introducing others to our training. I mean, what this has done, this accelerated the reach. We could never, between two of us, just with our networks, connected to all of the people that we have. So not only did referrals create us opportunity to help more businesses, it also created us a broader position in our network that we want to be the leading voice in. So it generated us trusted leads, and it's helped us help hundreds of businesses in the region because of it. So we believe an active and effective referral strategy can take your great service and offering and scale it to a level that actually starts to create you low cost, but high converting sales leads. And this is the magic pixie dust in sales.
Absolutely. So a few points to consider here to go over our second of the three Re's. Those referral leads are converting about 30% better than others. 82% of small businesses are citing referral as the best source of new business. So what's yours? Do you measure it? Do you know how many referral leads you're capturing? Because if you can't measure it, you can't see progress, and you've got to start building that into your systems. And how much is your current cost of a lead? Steve mentioned if those referral leads are coming in cheaper, even with some incentivization built in, your marketing and sales spending goes down, your margins can go up, and you'll be generating new leads because of it. So start making some notes and actions around referrals. What is it that you're going to take away and implement in your own business? Because we're going to move on to repeat, the final of our three Re's. I'm sure you all recognize the chap on screen. And you'll see the question at the top of the slide. How many times have you shopped with this guy in the past 12 months? I had a look at mine this morning. I think I shopped with him 75 times in 2020. Shocking. But what they've done is they have absolutely nailed loyalty, repeat business, personalization, and customer service. Why would we leave? They are doing it well. Personal politics aside, what they've done is built a brilliant business. There's the adage that it's 7 times more expensive to find a new customer than service an existing one. So how did you last engage and service your existing customers? What's your plan? What's your process? And what would an increase in lifetime value of any of your customer base of 10% mean to your business? If we thought referral leads converted well, at a 30% better chance of conversion, your repeat customers, when you ask them again, have got about a 60 to 70% chance of conversion if you're looking after them. But are you just so happy to get that one sale that the thought of selling something to them again is foreign to you and you just can't do it? Let's have a look at how the big ones do it and what we can learn from it. If you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm B2B, fair enough. We're B2B as well. And this works for us and it works for other B2B industries too. As we mentioned in our introduction, marketing and sales are probably two sides of the same coin. Also, B2B and B2C the buying behaviors and the buying journeys are becoming almost one and the same. We've all been in McDonald's, another food reference and analogy. We've all been in McDonald's or Starbucks or any of the high street chains. And these companies realize that the limited time we have at that counter is valuable. So while yes, we're going to buy the core product, they always ask, would you like fries with that? Is that a large? Would you like a cake or pastry to go with it? I only came in for a coffee and I'm left with all this. Because they ask every single time. Not everyone will say yes. And remember, that's not our goal. Our goal isn't to get everyone to say yes. Our goal is to ask everyone systematically and consistently. And the Amazon line, customers who bought this product also bought. What a clever line that is. Sums up target market, sums up other people like you did this, and we just want to be like other people like ourselves. So I'm going to start adding things to my basket. Do you ever ask this? Or is it a case of once they get to the end of my sales process, I'm going to go and hunt new things? And Steve, there's a feed model here on the screen. I mean, just want to give the guys a little snippet of this. And
yeah, so I'm not sure whether, I obviously don't know you, many at all of you, but so I don't know whether you use a sales process. This is a very simple sales process: leads, customers, prospect. And the feed model, the feed model is something that just helps us make sure that what we're doing in a sense is taking existing customers and putting them back at the top. Because actually our whole purpose is that we are focusing on ensuring we're guiding our customers back to the top. Now, this is probably one of the most simplest things to consider conceptually, but one of the hardest things to answer as a business owner is, have you at every single occasion got a next logical step for your customers? If they do something, where is the next logical step? So when they have purchased from you, how do you logically take them back to the top of your sales funnel and have them start the process once again? That's the question you need to be answering here. What is the next logical step for any of my customers whenever they enter any of my ecosystem at any point?
And I'm going to go back to a restaurant analogy.
Why not?
When you sit down in a restaurant and you order something, you get the whole menu of everything. But we've become blind by so much information that we don't pick anything. So if you're just offering the catalogue of everything and saying, let me know what you want when you're ready, just give me a bell, chances are we're not going to add anything to our core purchase. But if that's guided, i.e. a waiter with good knowledge about a menu says, I see you've chosen this. What I find is when people order that, they really like this side dish. Out of the whole side dish menu of 50, I pick you one. And I go, cool, I'll take that because I trust you. And you know what you're doing and you're the expert. If I just look at a blind list out of context, I'm not picking anything. But if you make it personal to me, to make my experience of that core product better, I'm going to nod and say, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. Add it to it. So what are you doing here? I think there's a risk that sometimes we bundle everything up and we try and sell everything to everyone. What we're challenging a little bit here is to take a step back and in a way debundle what it is that you're selling. Think about the core product that people are really buying and what they're buying it for. And then how you, as a salesperson responsible for that transaction, can make it just that bit better in a very genuine way for that customer. Not just force selling something because you have to, but genuinely care, genuinely make it better. Steve, anything for you before?
No, I think we should move on.
So
out of that, the repeat side, things to consider. What is your, do you want fries with that question? Have you got it? What is your customer like you also bought this position? And therefore, what are the opportunities for your sales results by using this method? If 60 to 70% of people that re-enter your ecosystem are likely to buy.
So we shared quite a lot.
Yeah, already we did.
Yeah.
Already we did. So look, we're kind of in the wrap-up phase. So we've shared with you why in every single sales call or interaction you have, you should be looking for a review, a referral, or a repeat. You must ensure you do not leave sales opportunities on the table. And having a strategy within your sales process around these three things will help sure that you are nurturing and maximizing every sales opportunity. Your existing network is a great place. Your existing customer base is a great place to build that. And the importance of maximizing the full value of your customer relationships is absolutely critical. While new business might be harder to find today than it was a while back.
Absolutely. So that's an introduction to the 3 Rs. And again, feedback guides our innovation too. Our repeat purchase looks something like this. People who come through online live tell us that they want more specific catered training. So therefore we have customer profiling made easy. We have objection handling, we have social media, all that stems out of the methodology. And this all comes from feedback and innovation by listening to our customers and giving to them what it is that they want. And online live is coming back. We are currently 2/3 of the way through a current group in February, and we're coming back in March, Steve. I think it's March 9th.
9th, 16th and 23rd,
yeah. And it's available sponsored by ourselves. I think it's a 75% sponsorship level. So I'll drop the link in the chat, Shane, if that's all right, just for the guys that are interested. I can see a few familiar faces on the call who have been.
Yeah, so tell everybody how great the training is.
Yes, so please give your feedback in the chat. But no, it's genuinely heartening to see so many familiar faces who trust us to come back and join us in these conversations. So yeah, it's wonderful. If you follow that link that I've just put in the chat now, you'll see information about that and how you can access it.
And anyone that's not been in it would love to see you there.
Absolutely.
So we're at that moment, Shane, where we hand it back to you. And there are that 15 minutes at the back end for any comments or questions that the gang might have.
Yeah, thank you. And before we kind of wrap up or anything, we've definitely got time for questions, and I'm hoping some people in the event have got questions. I've got a question for you, and it's around customer referrals. So do you find incentives work? So offering an incentive to the person that is referring a potential new customer?
So go on.
Well, I think it's about what the motivation is, Shane. It goes back actually a little bit earlier in our methodology. It goes back to your ideal client persona. What is it that motivates your ideal client persona? And what problem are you solving? So the motivation needs to be something that actually answers the problem of the person I'm referring you to. So if you're clear about the problem you solve, the referral in itself is the goal. The motivation to make it happen is therefore just the outcome. If you've got the right bit connected, because often we say, who else in your network might value from being on our training? But actually the real question is, who else in your network at this moment in time wants confidence, process and structure to succeed in a changed world? Now that's clearer to me about who you're looking for. This is this person, and this person. Oh, by the way, as a thank you, here's what we're offering. The key is that you know what it is you're actually getting referred for. And that therefore feeds into the 30% more likely to convert, because there's a match between problem and solution.
Exactly. And I think, we've become, it's one of those things that we see and we engage with all the time in terms of incentivized referrals, but we're hesitant to ask ourselves. You walk down any high street, walk down Fargate in Sheffield or whatever, every bank window, you'll see, recommend a friend to us and you'll each get £100. Oh, good. In terms of you and the smaller businesses maybe here, there's I know there's some advertising, there's graphic designers. The graphic design, remember how we brought your brand to life because you didn't know what it looked like in your head? Oh yeah, you really helped me because I can see it now. Who else is struggling with that? So you don't necessarily want branding, you want help to bring your brand and your graphic to life. And that can connect emotionally to a customer, and then they'll find another person that's just like them to refer you in. Same with advertising. No one necessarily at the moment wants big outbound advertising. But if you're getting en masse reach to the relevant types of people, how does that benefit your business? Well, that benefits me because it's seeing 100,000 people that wouldn't otherwise see my business. Of course, I can see the value in that. And I know such and such down the road is struggling because they're not getting the reach and the web visits to them. Would you mind introducing me to them? Because I'd love to help them out how I helped you. And we're just got to take a bit more ownership of these conversations, I think, and not be afraid to do it. Because all we're doing is helping people. We're not mis-selling anything. We're just helping. So yeah, does that answer your question there?
Yeah, I think as a membership organisation, so as a chamber and as a business, in effect, we look for new customers. Of course we do, like any business. So having a member refer a business who is potentially interested in getting involved in the chamber to the chamber, they are golden nuggets and they are perfect because it's a customer experience, passing a positive customer experience onto another business, which will in effect kind of potentially join. And I think that's relevant in all industries, to be fair. And we do offer an incentive for that. And I just wondered your thoughts on that, whether it's a B2C incentive like the 100 quid stuff or a B2B incentive, which some are probably the same, to be fair.
This goes into a slightly different place about buying behavior, but Shane, just to answer it in a very sort of factual way, there used to be a day when a B2B buyer would act like a father, a husband, a dad, a wife, a mother, a whatever at home, and then go to work and act like a completely different person. They'd be followed by, rules and structures of their business. The way the world is today, I don't change when I leave work and I don't change when I go home. I scroll, I flick, I look, I review. So B2C and B2B buying behavior are in essence the same now. They used to be fundamental. They used to be different because I used to be told to behave different. But actually the way I can access information, the way that I consume content, the way that I make my decisions, B2B and B2C, in essence, are exactly the same. Exactly the same. So referral programs work just as well if you get the problem you're solving right, you get the personas of the people that you want to serve right, the referral programs will work perfectly well. That's the answer.
Brilliant. And thank you to the gentleman that's just popped a question there. We will come back to that because I've just got another point. You've mentioned there, Steve, about in this current world, obviously we're nearly 12 months into the pandemic, and what we found is that businesses during the first few months, probably 6 months of the pandemic, so from March onwards last year, they kind of halted their marketing and their sales. And do you think that's turned the circle now from that point of view, from the sales and marketing point of view? Because I think businesses are very much of the mindset, I'm not sure if to push myself. Is it morally right? Is it morally wrong? Where do you think we are in that?
Well, I think there's a point here, right? Buyers are still buying. Therefore, if you as a seller aren't selling, and it's about problems. It's about what solution and problems you solve. We would never talk about mis-selling. Rob's used the words in the webinar. We would never talk about an inappropriate solution to a problem. And our view of selling, because Plan.Grow.Do is a methodology, is that you put your customer right at the start. And if actually you've got your customer at the start and not profit at the start, it means that all of your consequential actions connect back to the customer and the problem you're solving or the opportunity you're creating. So those conversations and that dilemma you might be having in your head is really one that is probably based on the fact that you haven't got that part right. What you need to have right first is who am I looking for and why am I looking for them? And therefore, is this what I really want to do and offer? So selling now is just as relevant. And we should be selling, for crikey, we should be selling. What we should be doing is absolutely embracing how modern selling has now changed. And Rob, there's a thing about the
the acceleration of I think what we found is, back in March, March last year, so it's 12 months on, isn't it? Yeah, March last year, our pipeline stopped as well. But I think what's happened is it's accelerated what was going to be happening anyway. We see the amount of buying decisions that start online, it's over 90%. Your own buying decisions start online. It's our own behavior that's been hesitant to engage the tools and platforms and methods that have been there forever. It's just perhaps we're more comfortable with the traditional means of what we've always done. And we're stuck in this habit of saying, well, we do it this way because it's what we've always done and we're going to expect the same, even though everything around us has changed. I'm not willing to change. And I think we've got to be open to the acceleration of the inevitable, because this was all coming anyway. COVID just made it happen quicker. And if you find that your market stopped buying, what a great opportunity you have got to implement some of the steps from this session today in building that reputation, engaging your customer base in a way that isn't desperately trying to flog something to them, but using it in a way that's going to, in a legacy sense, build your reputation online.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And just coming back to a question in the chat box, Chris Page is put in there, and this is probably relevant for people who are using a review platform and it not being successful as much as they think it should be, or they're not using one at all. But what review platforms are the most effective, would you say?
Yeah, there's a couple of others. I've had one privately as well that says, would you recommend having multiple choice reviews, as people find it easier to do that versus writing a review or testimonial? Obviously, both is the best. I'm going to, at risk of sounding like a politician and being very vague here, it depends what your customer wants. You've got to think about where that customer journey starts. If you're collecting all your reviews over on Which, but your customers are all searching on Google, you've just collected a big echo chamber that's talking to nobody. So you've really got to understand it, and that might come through starting to ask your customers, how did you first find us? What was it that made you want to get in touch? What was it that you liked about us? Oh, I saw you on Google. I saw you on this. And over time, patterns will emerge. As a rule of thumb, I'd say Google first, because that's the ones that you most likely own, if you like. There's nothing stopping Facebook changing. I know a lot of businesses have struggled recently with Facebook reviews disappearing. Check a trader behind paywalls. Google is the only one that you're as close to owning, I think, as possible. So I always think Google's a good one. And then another that is industry specific to you, which you'll obviously know better about your own businesses than I will. LinkedIn recommendations is okay for us. We tend to go Google first, then Facebook for small businesses, then LinkedIn for B2B professionals and sort of leaders of teams.
And it comes down to, in our 3 Plan.Grow.Do journeys, plan. Half of plan is all about knowing this, being able to answer this question. Because actually this is where your sales and marketing plan should start. Where do my customers hang out? But before you know where they hang out, you've got to know who your ideal customer is. And before you know who your ideal customer is, you've got to know what problem you're solving. This is the kind of sequential steps that get you to be able to answer the question that Chris put into the group.
Brilliant, thank you. Chris, just as a show of kind of thumbs up, really, does that answer your question? Is that all right? Brilliant. So has anyone else got any other questions or comments? I'm conscious of time. We've got a couple of minutes left, so feel free to unmute yourself. And if you do have any questions, please just shout up. No.
Can I just quickly ask, hi Steve, Rob, in terms of existing customers that just return whenever they want something doing, and you're talking about keeping in touch with them on a regular basis, is there an ambient time when you should just reach out and say, hi, how are you? Is there anything I can help you with?
Good question.
So that it's not too much and too often.
So what we say, Tracy, is, you know, we call this the holding pattern. And actually, if you consider that you've got all of your customers in a holding pattern, and your communication to them is targeted to connect to where they are in their buying journey. So it's different for each phase. You've got a raft of content that you use in your holding pattern to talk to buyers who could potentially be at different phases of their buying journey. So what you're doing is you're using deliberate moments to be sharing content, and that content you share again goes back to where your buyer hangs out to consume that content. It could be that what you have is a nice intimate group of people in your holding pattern that email. An email, monthly email, is something that is good enough. It could be that your ideal clients hang around on LinkedIn, and therefore you have regular content that goes out on LinkedIn and keeps them connected. So you've got to see your holding pattern in context of the buyer's buying behavior. So you need to have content that doesn't just say, I'm Tracy from Stable Creative. You need to say all the way down the bottom, isn't it time we now have a conversation and take that offline? So you've got to find different times to communicate with slightly different messages.
Yeah. I remember those workbooks I created for you over a year ago. Take the ownership and say, do you think it's time for a bit of a refresh? Is it all still up to date? Shall we take a look at that and see what happens? So you're not just waiting for your customers to come to you, but many a time I've prompted customers and they've thanked me for getting in touch because they've forgotten. People do want your service, they just get busy and forget. So giving them a little nudge is sometimes what they need, and they might just thank you for it as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you. If there's no other questions, I think we'll wrap up there. It's bang on 11 o'clock, so we've stuck to time, which is brilliant. So, Rob, you've put in there the link about the online live funded stuff that you're doing. What I'll do, I'll send it out to delegates after as well, so they've got it direct in their email. And I'll also, if you've got any questions, guys, and you're not, or any questions pop up after this, I'll also share Rob and Steve's contact details, if that's all right with you both, so people can get in touch with you directly, maybe. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely fine, mate. Yeah, all good.
Brilliant. So thank you, everyone, for taking the time to spend an hour this morning. A big thank you to Rob and Steve at Plan.Grow.Do. Thanks to my colleagues at Doncaster Chamber of Commerce as well. So please enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
This is where you get a virtual round of applause, Rob, but you can't see it.
Oh, you. Have a good day, guys. Take care.